Well, hello and everybody. How you doing this Sunday morning? I am doing quite well, and I'm just recovering from a hard day's or no hard week's work. Which I have like 2 more weeks of in this month because it don't get no easier. But I took this time because I have said I wasn't going to be able to do anything as far as any content on my channel anytime soon, but I had this thing that just it's funny how in life in general you just have a moment where you like I wonder if I want to do a kind of thing where that I feel people will want to hear or want to talk about, or just in general just have an idea that just comes into mind and you want to discuss it. Well, I figured for me, I have been thinking about this for some time, but I didn't know how to really kind of gestate it in terms of bringing it out and discussing it. So, the theory and the speculation that I'm going to be talking about is discussing with Godzilla X Kong Supernova. And let's just be clear on something and not. All right, sorry about that. But as I was saying, it's just a theory and speculation. And like any theory or speculation, it's not based on fact. It's just based on the opinion of said person or persons that they're discussing. So anyone who's watching, please take what I say, A, with a grain of salt, and B, don't get yourself all bent out of shape that I'm making a statement about something that I personally feel like is truth. It's just opinion, just a thought of mine that I came up with, and that's how it goes. So again, do not get bent out of shape about what I'm about to say, because if you do, you're too headstrong with this. So this is just a fun. This is just something that's fun, just something that's just really outgoing, and just something that a person like me who's a dreamer who just loves this kind of stuff thinks about. So you should know about anything. Stop letting yourself get bent out of shape about certain things. So, with that being said, here's what I have to say about this film, and because it's supposed to be released in 2 more years, or less than 2 years, on March the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. So and that's the thing right there. They are done filming. They've done their, the I want to say post production. I mean, not post production, but the filming of it, and the main characters and everything. The human characters are out the way, so that's done. And just to get on top of that, um, hopefully this film takes a more balance in terms of the Titan action and the human action, because the last film, which was Godzilla X Kong New Empire, I feel it had a pretty decent way of balancing the kaiju action with the human action, and it helped out because, as you saw, Kong and the little girl, they both have a loss, but at the same time they have a discovery, and I feel like that to me helped the movie a little bit more in terms of they're together in that journey of theirs, which is where I feel like hopefully this one does the same in terms of human interaction and kaiju action. So with that being said, this film is basically, I feel, there's going to be the title itself, which is, of course, Supernova. That title, that subtitle is, that's something really serious. Now, if it's way more dramatic than what we saw in King of the Monsters, where Godzilla was dealing with King Ghidorah, okay, we are really going to wonder where it's going to go with that. Now, here's one of my speculations or theories on this film. Okay, the last film that we saw, or I say the longest film, or when I say the longest film, the longest runtime. This is what I'm going to discuss here first. The runtime. The runtime for this film, I should think it would be a little bit longer than you know King of the Monsters, and we could have a runtime of 2 hours and 10 minutes for Supernova. We could, and that wouldn't be bad. I mean, in fact, I mean that's okay. I mean, it'd be just as long as King of the Monsters. But if I want to be blunt here, this story needs to be a little bit longer than the last previous film. I feel it needs to be at least 2 hours and 20 minutes long. And this is just, and to me, because if we're going to flesh out the storyline, we need to really show that this film is really taken aback in terms of we're trying to make the story conclusive in terms of, you know, Godzilla's arc, because this movie is going to be focusing more on Godzilla in terms of his story and knowing where Kong will be interact in some kind of way in down the line, because we know that they have to come back together in order to defeat this threat that is, as we've been told, is this bad boy, Space Godzilla. And that's a crazy design of that one, of him, which if he is the big heavy, I'm hoping that they will integrate something a little bit more in terms of what could come into play with him, as far as let's have not just him, but even someone else, come alongside, that would be great. But, as I said before, we don't really know what would come into play. I mean, it could be any speculation on that. It could be any kind of theory. I mean, because that design there, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, the design here, him like this, that's like, dude, that's a threatening, total menace. And knowing that he is from space, if they go into the lore of Space Godzilla, let's be honest, he has to have some kind of connection to Godzilla himself. Because the old film itself, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, had it where certain cells of Godzilla and certain cells of Mothra, or however it was, blended together and they floated into the sky. No, Biolante. I'm sorry, Biolante. Biolante and the Godzilla cells float into the air, into the space, and they joined up with some crystalline entity, and they joined together. But we're here, we could take liberties and say that let's do something way more extravagant and say this thing can really, turn the tide on the earth by causing some kind of whatever, turning it on its axis, and kind of, maybe, who knows, started a new terraforming situation, which would totally destroy not just the Titans, but the human population as well. And that would be crazy, But again, it's just a theory, and we don't know if that's going to be the case or not. And that's just, and people just theorize that it's going to be that. We just theorize that. Okay. So, with that being said, here comes one of the few theories that I have, and it was something that as I was making this, it was kind of like, well, if they do get, if they do bring in someone else, that would be kind of awesome to see them interacting with. Um, My thought was that they could bring in Jet Jaguar, this design here, which would be kind of awesome, or something like this. Because if they need something that's going to really, bring the heavy in, it's like, well, let's bring the metal, let's bring the pain, and this will be an introduction to, you know, Jet Jaguar. Although, if that is the case, if they were to do something like that, they would definitely have to bring in something that even my friend Kevin Lemerich mentioned, maybe bringing Gigan to that forefront if they was bringing Jet Jaguar. But if that's the case, then they would have to bring in Megalon. Who's to say that Megalon and Gigan didn't come in to play to coincide with Space Godzilla? It's possible. You never know. I mean, it could be it's anything. If all theories aside, we never really know what could be set to stone or can put into play with that. So it's a very, very delicate way of saying balancing, and this is why I was saying before with the story, why I was thinking 2 hours and 20 minutes long, or a slightly longer. Maybe add 5 more minutes to that. I mean, make it massive, make it epic, make it you know that you can take the time to slow it down to give the story some weight, and it's not convoluted that it's going to just kind of suck up the time, suck up all the energy, and it's just like, oh, this is boring, this is too long. It's like, but it's very robust that you have that story structure come out, and you see these titans come into play alongside with the human interaction, which would be a grandiose kind of thing, which I hope it would be that. But that being said, I'm going to go to the most controversial thing that I feel with anything and everything with something. And I'm pretty sure someone's going to agree with what I'm about to say. And that is, this is going to be really heartbreaking to some, but I know, like so many others, they may either accept it or may not. The two titans, Godzilla and Kong. I'm going to say something that's just going to be hitting below the belt, but I mean, let's face it, it makes a good story. I'm feeling not only would, I'm not even saying that it wouldn't happen. I'm not going to say it won't happen. I can't say it won't happen. Okay. So, I'll just say it. I have a feeling that both of these titans are going to die. Both Godzilla and Kong. This will be their final place in the universe on the Monsterverse. I feel that both these titans will give up their lives in order to subsequently, you know, defend the earth bounds of the reality, and they give up their lives in order to maintain a sense of balance, which is why I feel it could that could happen. Because let's be honest, I mean, sometimes the greatest sacrifice to anything in order to keep things going is to give up that who is trying to defend the outcomes of their surroundings. And these two, both Kong and Godzilla, they have been around in the monsterverse for a good while, and knowing that they've gone tooth and nail through life and limb to do what they have to do in order to keep things at a balance. Who's to say that they do not totally go out with a bang, defending the honor of the earth that they live on? I mean, it would make so sense. I mean, it would be the only way for them to really be honored and really coincide with the fact that they have to give their lives honorably in order to, defend the earth that they live on. So this is where I was talking about speculation and theory. This is where I say some people do not get yourself all worked up. It's like, how can you say something so horrendous, saying that they should die? It was like, you have to stop and realize that even some of the stuff that it's gone on in the past probably be regenerated in future things. I mean, both these characters, Godzilla and Kong, have died in their films in previous iterations of them. I mean, they have. They have both died, but that shows that they can have a resurrection also. So it's very, very, very possible that they, you know, if they die, they may have a resurrection in some future sense of word. Never can't say, but it would be an honorable thing if they did die and you know let sleeping dogs lie. So with that, here comes the biggest kind of theory and speculation that I have to say, and it's like one of the biggest hitters of everything. What will be introduced, not with just with Jet Jaguar, and knowing that he's coming into play when they have to defeat the threat that might be. What if, and by some miracle, it actually was to happen? We bring in the tortoise of all tortoises, the ninja, I say the turtle ninja himself, Gamera. And before anyone even starts to say anything about, oh, this will never happen because of Daiei and Toho and all this, and then copyright, it's like, stop. Just stop. Take all that away. Don't put that in your brain cells. Stop. It's speculation. It's a theory. Let's just say that this did happen in some way behind the books, behind the cameras, the lights, and everything. Someone was doing something on the table where they managed to get this particular classic turtle into or interact with not just Kong but Godzilla for the first time in film history. Okay, again, theory. Okay, speculation. This is speculation of that. Okay, I keep saying this because I have to say it, because in case someone in the cheap seats don't get it. Okay, so as I said before, these individuals, if Godzilla and Kong are pretty much taken out, who's to say that Gamera, by some miracles, that he gets into the Monsterverse, or just in American films, regardless, he becomes the new protector, leader of all his surroundings to protect the earthly kind. Who's to say he couldn't? Who's to say that couldn't happen? Because he is a mighty titan. He is a mighty kaiju. He is that particular person. When you say person, you might as well say entity, as I like to say. But that's what I'm saying. That could be possible. Who's to say it can't be possible? And to know that that was to bring it in his, and it's such a reassuring thing that it could happen. Who's to say it couldn't happen? And you have to stop and think about this. All people aside, I've always said that that can never happen. That can never be. That can never become. Okay. Well, let's just tear down the walls of reality with that. Who's to say that someone hasn't heard other, you know, fans and everything, and the people who decide this say that they're fans themselves, and it's like, I could, we could bring him in, and it might just work. You never know. You never can tell. It's a possibility. We don't know what's possible with certain things, and we don't know if things could work out that way. And if it can work out that way, let's just say that it brings it anything that you dream of can come true. And knowing that this is it's almost like that mesh of where someone like Jason and Freddy came together for the first time, and it was just speculation. Same with Alien and Predator, just speculation, but it happened, you know. So if Gamera was to come into the light after something happens with these two, giving up themselves to make it, come into play. And remember this: even if Kong dies, if the possibility Kong dies, we have to remember Suko is still someone who could take the ranks of king as far as of the apes, you know. And the Gamera would be the one who would, take over as, like I say, with position of Godzilla, you know. Now, where the human interaction comes into play with is probably more observation, but more likely, when I mentioned, Jet Jaguar, someone has a plan to build him and create him, and he becomes part of that story arc. It's why I say keep the human interaction and the kaiju. They keep that interaction together, and it works out the way you want it to. And it's like that could happen, And that's why I say all this is just speculation. And this is something I was thinking about a few days ago, and it just got the burn in my brain. It's like, who's to say that couldn't work? Who's to say that couldn't come to play? You know? And I realized, like, yes, this could be a case of let's do this, let's make this happen. And now that I think about it, now that I discuss it, I mean, you can never say it won't. So I had to bring this to light. I had to come out and say this, talk about this, because all these things, everyone's going to have their own ideas. And see, with social media, with nothing is pretty much hidden. I mean, everything's so much out there. People are going to discover it. But the mystery of saying that, could this be, even those people have speculated it could be Space Godzilla and the like, and we can say that, Godzilla and Kong are going to be, it might happen. Or even if the runtime for this film could be this or more. The bottom line is this: we don't know. And we should make it more a mystery to say what will come to be. We don't know. We have no idea. So it's that's why I say it's so fun to kind of come up with the idea, but not to be so strenuous and get freaked out that shouldn't be like this. It's like, dude, you shouldn't get yourself all worked up with that, because the end result is the producers, the writers, director, that they're going to do whatever they want to make a good story. But hopefully they feel that this could come in and coincide and make it seem like this could happen. And if it was to happen, so be it. If it doesn't, no big deal. Let's just hope it is a good story and it blows so many fans who are total monster lovers out the water. Because I would definitely like to be knocked on my ass and know that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. You know. So, but there you have it. My theory, my thoughts, my own processing of what I feel about this movie, the upcoming movie, and if this film comes to be, I mean, if it just comes to be the spectacle that we hope it will be, a so much the better. And I hope it does. I really do. And that's pretty much my take on that. That's my thoughts and um, whatever on that. So I guess, I mean, hey, you never know. You never can tell what could be coming about. You know, future's not for us to see. So let's just put that out there and saying that we hope that it can happen like that. But with that being said, as far as anything else, particularly that I got coming up, this just be the one thing I have for this month. I recently did something with, and with an opening, but this was the only thing that I had to do this because I think it needed to be done because I wanted to give my 2 cents on how I feel about it, and I feel like if I don't talk about it now, it's never going to be talked about. And thankfully, I'm glad I went on ahead and did this. So, but as far as the rest of this month, you won't be seeing too much of anything. It's pretty much it's going to be dead air because, like I say, work is going to be hard and it's taxing on me. So I'm not going to try to do anything. But next month will definitely be something new, and I'm definitely going to bring something out. I'm supposed to be doing a Chronos, uh, the 1950, the 1957 B movie classic, and hopefully have some people interacting with that, what we talk about, because I want to have a talk about it, because it's a very underrated movie, But other than that, not much else. And hey, this month is pretty much is zoneless in terms of dead air for me. But next month, September, I'm definitely bringing the heat again. So with that being said, I thank y'all for watching. And as I always close out, I always tell y'all take care, y'all be patient, and always keep the kaiju love alive. I'm out.